see it on the ceiling? And then you take her body all the way down and see the waveform. This is the Milky Way, see the stars. The flower is a symbol worldwide of nurturing of the stars. And you come all the way down to her feet here. And this is where it gets interesting. So this is all Newt. And the first thing I'm going to point out is look at her leg, the front leg. There's an image of a scarab beetle. This is what I gave you all the first day, and I told you it meant transformation. It's indented. You see, everything else is expressed differently, and this is just the indentation of this scarab beetle, and it's emerging from the leg of Nut, right? This is consciousness. This is the seed of consciousness, and it's about to go on the journey of entering into form, a perception of time and space. And then you see the sun, because as Stephen told you, well, I think he tells you or has told you, that Nut is the path of the sun. We're looking at the path of the sun through an annual day cycle. And again, this is cycles within cycles. So over here you see her swallow the sun at night, but on this side we see her give birth to the sun, right? And the sun we see the face of Hathor. So Nut is giving birth to the Milky Way, the Ouroboros, right? Our Milky Way, which we know circles us, it's spiraling. It's not a circle, it's a spiraling cycle. She's giving birth to the face of Hathor, and the face is the seed of form, right? That's the alpha. That's your whore. Okay? Her face. The face is basically the place. It's the face of the place. And this face is what you see all over Egypt and all the different gnomes. It might change a little bit because it's the face of the place as you migrate across the land. So this particular face would be, this expression of the face would be the seed of consciousness here. And as I said, consciousness itself changes, our perception changes as you migrate across the land, right? Time and space. It's complicated. Okay, underneath her chin, do you see the shrine? It's a symbol for the temple, the body, right? And look at, you see, on the two columns of this shrine, one has white and blue blocks, and the other one has darkish, almost black and blue blocks. You're looking at the pillars of Boaz and Joachim. This is your polarity, yes. Sorry for the pronunciation. But what you're looking at is the polarity of form. You're being birthed into the face of form is a polar, it's a dual. We, in order to be alive, to be embodiment, are dual. We have dual aspects. We have a light side and a shadow side. This is basic spirituality, right? It's esoteric knowing. Well, here it is. This is just the beginning. The next thing I'll have you look at up at the sun is you see a little tiny bark with a lotus flower. What's coming out of the lotus flower?
Serpent.
The serpent. That's the sine wave. That's time and space in motion, because that's the vibration. When we're in form, when we're alive, we have to be vibrating. I think it's Stephen said, everything is vibration, right? So here you have the triple, the three, the seed of consciousness, the seed of perception or form, and then you have the seed of the sine wave, time and space in motion, right? The perception, it's always just a perception. There is no time, there is no space, there is no form. This is huge, right? So what we're looking at is the hero's journey, and this is who Horus was. His name was Hero. He's our hero on the hero's journey. So I'm going to take you down a little bit further.
Patricia, where's that indented scarab you first talking about?
If you look at the legs of Nut and the front leg,
Yeah.
it's emerging out of her leg.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
Okay, so now I'm going to try and speed this up a bit. I'm looking at him upside down, but turn around. Can you see Osiris? It's 3 barks down on the top, yes. And he's waving backwards to what? There is the hawk with the dual crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. This is unified consciousness. This is the beginning. That's that moment of stillness, the pause. All right? The earth is straight up and down. This is important to know. That's perfect balance. And right after that, he's waving to perfect balance. Everything we choose to do when we choose to be in embodiment, right? He's waving, he's looking back, all excited because he's taking the hero's journey. We all lined up to be here, right? So, next stop is also, by the way, right behind Horus is Soap Debt, Sirius. Just so I'm not going to talk about that now. So then we move further, and the next thing you see is Shu and Tefnut. I've talked a lot about Shu and Tefnut. So do you see the two people, and they are holding hands? It looks like they're holding hands. Their hands are outstretched towards each people, in the bottom of the sine wave, almost touching. So this is an electromagnetic connection, right? This is the separation of Gemini. So here we are at Cancer, and I didn't mention this, but the emerging scarab beetle is the first symbol of Cancer, right? The age of Cancer. So we emerge from there, we start our journey, and then in Gemini, hydrogen and oxygen split, right? Electromagnetism takes place, the spark, and suddenly male and female are separate. We perceive ourselves as separate entities. So for this point, we're both. We feel that we're both. We know I'm both masculine and feminine. And then suddenly there's a perception that, you're a man and I'm a woman. Okay, that's the beginning of separation, right?
Twins of Gemini.
That's Gemini. And who comes into play but consciousness itself to tell us we need words to communicate. Because, men are from Mars, right? And women are from Venus. So we need a tool to communicate with each other. And that's language, all right? This all begins here. So then we move a little bit further and we see the bull. Look how black and dark he is. And he's standing on 3 legs, right? There's a little bit of a handicap here. Because this is when we fall into the perception that we are our bodies. And that's where we begin to look outside ourselves for a power greater. And then we turn our power away. And we get lazy. And we become more separated. And we become subject to agendas that keep us separated and the warrior archetype. This is the night cycle. We all lined up to be here. What is the challenge? To go within and know our truth, right? So this is what this is all about.
Did you see his tail? That's a serpent.
Of course it's a serpent. This is key. And that's good. It's a great observation because we're going to see a lot of that. So yeah, absolutely, good observation. So then we move into Aries. I'm going to go quickly now because there's so much more to go, but I want you to get that first perception of the birth of form. Okay? So then we move into Aries. Can you see the ram? He's got 2 legs up, boy.
Not a handicap.
We're really in handicap now, right? And I'm really giving you a basic explanation, but it's a lot to take in. And then you can see Pisces, see the 2 fish on either side of the sacred lake.
Make sure you get it, Imhotep.
We go a little bit further, and we see
There's your tribe
Aquarius,
up there.
right?
Yeah, yep.
So here we are, Aquarius, and what's Aquarius doing? That he's emptying the container. So where are we at now? We've just been placed in the container, right? The perception that we are our bodies. And Aquarius is the great release. This is the end of the night cycle. Why does everybody say that this is the new dawn? Because we have hit bottom. We are pointing toward Polaris. We've gone from Vega to Polaris. It's over, folks, and we all feel it and we all know it. But how do we make that shift? And it's literally by taking the heart, and I've said this several times. Break open your chest and let the heart out. We have kept the heart hidden in a patriarchal paradigm. It's time for the feminine side of ourselves, you men as well as the women, to not be afraid to speak our truth and to show our hearts, to open our hearts, because we feel it, our gut tells us, and we forget to act on it because what will people think, right? Who cares?
Who cares?
We're all me. So if I start, my breath starts, then everybody else will follow, right? We'll see.
Is the Aquarius representation the hands going down there? Or
Can you see the guy with the 2 jars, when the jars are empty?
It's actually happy.
Water urns.
Well, of course, yeah, copy, thank you. Happy. Happy is
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah,
fertility.
yeah, I see
Happy is both male and female because he is the fertility of the Nile. So again, that's coming back into unity. Thank you, Muhammad.
You're welcome.
And so again, the fertility, we're at that moment where we're going to give birth to something new, right? The new paradigm, and this is what I'm talking about. So now I want to point out something really interesting because here, Newt is swallowing the sun. So our tendency is to want to go full circle and walk to the other side, going straight across and going from Aquarius to Capricorn. But guess what, folks? You don't go from the swallowing of the sun to the swallowing of the sun. We have to go back to another birth, right? It's the birth of a new cycle. So I'm going to do something really bizarre, and instead of taking you this way, I'm going to take you the sine wave pattern, the infinity pattern. So let's, and what you're actually doing in the infinity, if you notice what I'm doing, you're creating what? There's a cross, the crossing point.
Yep.
Jesus crosses over. We don't do this. Nothing is linear. It has to go like this. Jesus dies on the cross. That's what we're going to do. Let's cross over.
Let's die.
Cosmic succession of man.
Die to be resurrected again. So we go to this side. Now, what if we all, Stephen said it, we've all said it, what is the symbol of the new dawn, right? We saw the seed of consciousness as the scarab beetle. But the new dawn is when we earn our wings, right? It's when we earn our wings. What do we see giving birth here? Who is Newt giving birth to? The winged scarab. We have now earned our wings. This is the new dawn, right? And it's now. We've been told it's now. But guess what? This is Leo. Now, what have we just done? The reason we say we're in the age of Aquarius is because we're looking north. We're in the northern hemisphere perspective. So we're all looking up, right? We're looking up to define who we are. That's our map, the circumpolar spin of the north. Well, what happens if you look down? If you're on the southern hemisphere right now, Aquarius isn't rising on the horizon, Leo is. What did ancient Egypt tell us? South is up. Upper Egypt. The Nile runs from the south to the north. It's the only major river in the world that does. The land itself emulates the story. It's amazing. And so south is up. If we're looking down, we're entering the age of Leo, and that is the golden age, right? It's a new golden age. It's the beginning, in my opinion. We're going to do this in a different way now.
Can I add something to your story?
Please.
You talked about the separation of male and female at the age of Gemini.
Yeah.
But you realized that the release, Aquarius, is happy, which is a hermaphrodite, which is recognizing both.
That's what I said. We're moving back into unity.
Yeah. You said that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Still good. It's good stuff. Good observation. Absolutely. So here we are, the new dawn. And this is what I say is going to happen next. This is the shakeup. We hit the end of the cycle, the nadir, right? And so now we're going to cross over and we're going to go back up to Leo, but we're going to breathe a different direction. So what's next? Virgo. Now I've talked to some of you about that, and what do you see? Wow, look. They took Virgo out of the picture. Why did they do that? No, I'm not saying they did it. For some reason, it's a destruction here.
Wait, Patricia, so who's right in front of Leo?
You have to ask Muhammad Femi. I don't know who the figure is.
Okay.
But it actually follows this way. Your Virgo will come here. Do you see the snake that's doing the infinity, like you understand?
Yeah.
It's speaking to this moment in time. It's actually on the small. It's on the Dendera zodiac, but it's not on this one. It's only on the one in France. So okay, we continue down. And so after Virgo, which is purification, right? So the spirit becomes purified. And then we move into Libra, which is balance, right? We find our balance. which is what it's all about. This is what healing is about. So we move into Libra, we find our balance, and then there's Scorpio. Scorpio can be portrayed as the scorpion, which crawls on the ground. This is the annual cycle. But Scorpio has a higher symbol of being, a higher state of consciousness, and this is the eagle or the hawk. It is Horus. That is the great year cycle. That is the other cycle that we talk about. And so here, what's interesting about Scorpio, and I've talked to a few people about this, right at Scorpio, they're talking about a 13th constellation. Just started talking about it now. He's always been there. Yes.
Ophiuchus.
Yeah, so many different things.
Ophiuchus.
Ophiuchus. Okay, so anyway, he's right after Scorpio, right? They just stick him in here. Well, they didn't just stick him in here. He's always been there. He's the serpent holder that we see in symbolism all over the world. He is in the stars, and he marks the gateway straight to the center of the galaxy, right between Scorpio and Sagittarius. All right, this is the moment in time when we suddenly become formless. We get it. Perfect balance. We become the current. We know, right? High state of consciousness. But then we have to come back and do it all over again. And Troy asked me about the black box. Okay, guys, we move then through Sagittarius. We get to really express ourselves completely freely. That's Sag. Gotta have free expression, right? We all know Sagittarius, right? We're free, right? What are we all seeking? The freedom of expression, right? Okay, then we move into Capricorn. Now, I've also talked to a lot of you about the lead into gold. I don't know if everybody heard it, so I will repeat it. But if you know about alchemy, you know there's the great question of how do you turn lead into gold, okay? And everybody's trying to do it chemically, and you can do it. They've proven you can do it, right? I'm going to talk about the answer to the question, how do you turn lead into gold? Because when we were over at Aquarius, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn rules lead. Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun rules gold. How do you turn lead into gold? Flip. See, it's that simple. Well, how do you turn lead into silver, the night cycle? It's the same thing. We just did this, the infinity pattern. Well, Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn. Okay, so we're back at lead again once we've made this journey to this place. Capricorn, once unicorn, is unified seed of consciousness. It's when we all have the perception that we are connected, we are one, right? And suddenly it's time for us to cycle back to where we began this morning. And so here we are. And this is a real interesting story because what you look up at on this whole ceiling, this is the only thing they didn't clean, and it's a black box. Now in Egypt, I looked up black box. Now we all know about the black box of Saturn, and that's a whole lecture. I can talk about why this is significant. I just told you that Saturn rules Capricorn. This black box, inside that box, I had to ask myself who that figure was. He had to be important. It's Nebuchadnezzar. Muhammad Fahmy did confirm that for me. The writing says it's him. It's a serpent god. He is responsible for attaching the ka to the form. On the other side. Who is that serpent coming out of the lotus? Right? Well, that black box is the birthing box. When women were pregnant, they gave birth on the birthing boxes. That's giving birth, right? So we're back at that pivotal moment when we're going to give birth to form. And what do you see right here? You see Taret. Stephen said the great-grandmother. She is the great-great-mother because she gives birth to form. She is the generative force of the mother. And what you see is, now here I'm going to show it really clearly upstairs, but she's giving birth to the pattern that creates our perception. Here we go. Here's Taret. It's beautiful. And you see this sine wave, this infinity kind of spiraling rope around the leg of the bull here. Okay? And what do you see? But here's a figure, an aspect of Horus. And what is he doing? He's got the spear on the bull. Well, let me say something how why this is important. I can talk about the stars, there's a stellar fractal pattern, there's all kinds of things I can say, but the most important thing, you can't have a new beginning until you put an end to the old pattern. This is the pattern, it has to die so that you can create a new one. The cycling is birth, sustainability, destruction, rebirth. And so what this is what you see so that we can create again and move all the way across. Remember we made that pathway this way? This is the pathway back to the birth of the face of Hathor. It's all about the birth of form. Remember we crossed this way? Now we're going to come back and go this way. That's the Capricorn Cancer connection. How do you turn lead into silver? Cancer is ruled by the moon rules silver, and silver is ag, agriculture. This is the planting of the seed that I talked about. Once the plant comes up, what do we say? It's horticulture, we nurture, and that's the day cycle, that's the hor, the path of heart. Get it? It's in our language, and we don't see it. And that's why I love to tell this story. And I've just given you this much, there's so much here. There's one place I want to take you real quickly.
Just a second, I just want to point out something mundane. Here you're seeing raised reliefs, here you're seeing incised reliefs. Not supposed to be in the same place. Raised is supposed to be older, however the telemails were cute. So they made raised reliefs to try to imitate the old kingdom, but how they fed the glyphs are so crude we could always recognize Ptolemaic glyphs.
Okay guys, the punchline. This way. And it's a good one. Okay.